Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Well, let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Kitchen General 8618 and says, am I the arsehole here for wanting a divorce because my husband insisted that my boobs were fake? I, 30 female, do have very large boobs, that's 38G to be specific. I've been with my husband, 33 male, for about 10 years, and while we have no children together, we are happy. Recently he's been checking out my body more than before. I don't mean in a let me take you to bed kind of way, it's more of a what could you be hiding kind of way. Now, I am by no means skinny. I'm 5'5" and 180 pounds, nowhere near as good as I could be, but I really don't have any motivation. I don't care as long as I don't look like I haven't showered in months and choose to be like that. Now, I have a multitude of scars on my body, and my husband noticed. One is under my armpit, which I got from running up the stairs with my friend and scraping it against the corner of the railing in my old house. The second one, I'm not even sure where it came from. It's thin though, so I'd assume from my childhood cat, but it goes down my side about 4 inches and on my ribcage. My husband has been getting more into shows about spouses lying to their partners about things which I do enjoy watching myself. My husband randomly came up to me and started feeling up my boobs, which isn't out of the ordinary, but still random. I asked him what he was doing, and he said, "How could you lie to me like that?" I asked about what, and he said my boobs. I said my boobs are real, what are you talking about? He said no they're not, and I have 2 scars by my boobs that clearly show I had a boob job. I told him that's not how it works, and usually they cut under the boob for that. He said they cut on the side as well, and that I'm a liar for not telling him. I told him I wasn't lying, and that he was being weird. Cue an argument about them, and I left with our cats to my friend's house, the exact friend I'd gotten hurt with. I explained what happened to her, and she called my husband and yelled at him. His mother also yelled at him for that, but his dad is on his side. After I agreed to come back home, he said he'd forgive me if I'd just admit that they were fake. I told him that they weren't, and that you'd seen me when I was skinny and could tell it was because of my weight gain. He brings up the time I had to go to my home state and stay for 6 months because of my grandmother who sadly passed away. My family does eat a lot of fattening foods, and when I left for home I was 125, and when I came back I was almost 150. Those eating habits transferred over to my home life, and I never really got back into my healthy eating lifestyle. He continued to pester me about my boobs, so I told him I wanted a divorce, or separation at least. He backpedaled and begged me not to, but I'd made up my mind. He called me numerous times after I'd left for a week crying and begging me to come home. I told him no, and that if he couldn't leave it alone, I wouldn't come back. He started throwing insulting names at me, to which I just hung up. Now his friends and girl best friend are calling me an arsehole for wanting divorce over a simple issue. So, am I the arsehole here? In the comments, Medium Fudge says, oh, someone planted that seed in his thick skull. Blind Neo replies that saying, given his dad is on his side, I'd guess he's the source of the earworm, which also means he's been staring a lot. Spider says he's been with you for 10 years. Why is he now asking if they're fake? Adventures says, my great aunt knew me my entire life and then suddenly, in my 20s, decided I'd had lip fillers done. She insisted. Wouldn't believe anyone saying that these are the same lips I've had my entire life. In her defense, she was well in her 70s and her brain had started to be affected by Parkinson's. All the meds for it, I'm not really clear which, so I don't know what the husband's excuse is. Peppermint Valet quotes Seinfeld and says, by the way, they're real and they're spectacular. Magdover says simple issue. First he calls you a liar, then doubles down and refuses to listen to your friend and demands you apologize. This guy isn't worthy of your boobs. Not the arsehole. And a final comment from Big Bob C, who says not the arsehole, both because his behaviour is disrespectful and because he's too dumb to deserve you. It's not a simple issue. He's literally calling you a liar about something you have no reason to lie about. Based on watching videos by dipshits who specialise in convincing gullible people to believe ridiculous things. The OP comes in with her update and says, I just want to say thank you for all the support and the messages in the comments, but the amount of people asking to see my boobs is, oh dearie me, is pretty concerning, along with the two asking to date me or wanting to take me out, but again, thank you for the offer. And to clear something up, when I posted this, I'd already been with my friend for 3 days. So it hasn't been that long, and I decided to go back home to really talk it out, since someone said someone may be saying something to him. I talked to him about it, and his answers constantly changed from no one made him think that to I'd seen something that said they're making implants that feel more real, which I've never seen anything saying they were. To finally telling me the truth, which was his co-workers were telling him. I asked him how he could think that knowing he's seen my body change, and he said he didn't know. He showed me the picture of us he showed his co-workers where I was wearing a waist trainer and a bodycon dress, whilst you could still tell I had some weight in my stomach, but still a lot in my boobs. I rolled my eyes as I set the picture down and stared at him. He eventually told me that his co-workers were telling him so much that they were fake, and when he mentioned my scars, it just caused him to believe it more. I said, do you believe your co-workers who you've known for 6 months and know how they act around women over your wife of 10 years? He eventually broke down crying, which was pretty uncomfortable, but then said he'd do anything to make me forgive him. I asked him why he would still think that about me after feeling them, and he said because he didn't want to admit he was wrong and have me hang it over his head. I will admit I've done that a few times, and he bleached his whole load by mistake because there were 2 white shirts in the load, and he thought adding bleach would be fine. And then another time he was messing with the cats after they'd healed from being neutered and was spraying them everywhere. Not a fun 6 months, and got sprayed in the face. I told him that I wanted him to find a new job in couples therapy like some of you had suggested. He agreed immediately and began drafting his 2 weeks notice. We both make enough and have saved to go without jobs for at least a month and a half since we have separate finances and a joint account for bills. We both make over 100k a year, with me in human resources and my husband working in medical, so he's working in medical. When my husband had an office party for one of those bosses' birthday, I wanted to talk to the co-workers who told him what they thought. When I saw them, I was personally not that shocked. They were decently in shape men, but still not as good as they could have been with beautiful wives who clearly had work done. Nothing crazy, just like filler and Botox. While my husband was giving his notice to his boss, not the ones whose birthday it was, I went to talk to them and their wives. Their wives were shocked at what their husbands had said about me and began to quietly chew them out about that, since I assumed they were the reason the wives got some work done. I could be wrong though, but still. My husband and I enjoyed the rest of the party and went home. The next day, my husband was pestering me to go into work. I'm able to work from home or in the building, so I agreed after some questioning and went in. When I came home, he was nowhere to be found, but the entire apartment was deep cleaned, like I'd been wanting to do. Lunch was made, and all the cat appliances like litter boxes, food and water bowls and cat stand had been deeply cleaned as well. After about 20 minutes of me looking around, my husband came back home. He was a little upset I'd come home earlier than he wanted, since the carpet wasn't completely dry. He cleaned it with our rug cleaner like I'd wanted. He'd made my favourite food that my grandma had made since after the funeral. I'd inherited her cookbook and some money. My husband then gave me a few of my favourite flowers, which are hibiscus flowers, and a small handwritten note. He used to do it all the time in college, and when I did an exchange program in Brazil for fun. There was a full apology saying how sorry it was, that he should have known to distance himself from his co-workers and should have stopped them from talking about me in a bad light. I smiled and thanked him for the flowers and continued eating. After I finished, he'd cleaned the kitchen for me and took me upstairs and ran a bath and picked me out some comfy clothes for me and gave me a full body massage without it ending in sex. Later after that, he'd taken me out to dinner and paid for it all. He always does, but it's still good to mention. And when we got home, we did end up having sex, but it was more better than usual. All the focus on me instead of both of us. I didn't have to sort him out, and after I was completely satisfied the act was over, even if he didn't finish. After that, he cleaned me up and got me something to drink. I asked him why his aftercare was different than usual. It was usually a kiss and cuddling. He then said that he wanted to do more in order for me to forgive him. He then gave me an even longer apology, saying that even after all this, I didn't have to forgive him, and he knows he was being stupid for not admitting he was wrong and not backing down, but he'd do anything to get me not to divorce him, even if it meant being a stay-at-home husband. I laughed since he was usually the one wanting to be the breadwinner and and wanting me to be a stay-at-home wife, which is why I work from home for the most part, so I can still have my own money. I told him I do forgive him, and as long as he finds another job and we get therapy, it was fine. I wouldn't divorce or do separation. He continuously thanked me and said he thought I'd never forgive him. I said I thought I was being a little overdramatic when I said a divorce, but it's fine. I didn't mention my post on what to do, and we're happy again. Our therapy session is scheduled in the next few days, and we're bringing the cats back home soon. Thank you again to everyone who gave me advice and did say I was doing a little too much by wanting a divorce, and I hope you're all good. There are a couple of the top comments on this one. First one says, I'm cynical and see the whole thing as love bombing, but I genuinely hope the future goes well for you, OP. And one more comment which says, I'm glad he's taking accountability and admitting that he was in the wrong. The only thing I'm still thrown off about is the fact that he called you names and berated you when you mentioned a divorce. I really hope that doesn't become a habit and come into future arguments, because that can turn into verbal abuse. I'm glad you guys are doing okay right now though. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, before we do get into this story, I do want to give you a couple of warnings just in case you want to skip it. Totally up to you. Always look after your mental health, super important. But this story does contain accusations of rape and sexual assault as well. As mentioned, if you do want to skip the story, timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. From throwaway, am I the asshole for punching my best friend's wife after she touched me inappropriately? Hey everyone, Lurker here. I've tried posting this from a different account, however it did not work, so I hope this works. I've 35 male, been with my beautiful wife 34 female for close to 10 years. We have no kids as of now. My wife's best friend, Amy, had been friends with my wife for about 15 years. All throughout college where I originally met my wife. Me and Amy haven't ever been the best of friends, however we've been cordial for the sake of my wife. I've always found her to be obnoxious, loud, and entitled. The kind that inserts herself into any and every conversation, whether that be on a night out with friends or a private conversation. For example, myself and my best friend were talking about fertility issues in his marriage during a dinner with our longtime friends. We were quiet enough so that nobody could hear us over the chatter, yet she found a way to be nosy and make a comment about how she would kill herself if she couldn't do the one thing a woman was made to do. That pissed off my best friend, Max, and his wife to the point where they excused themselves and left early to go home. Now on to the actual situation at hand. Amy's boyfriend, Khalid, had left her due to her annoying personality. I think it was more of a build-up, but what set him off was when Amy purposely did not feed their dog while he was on a work trip because he was sleeping while she was drunk and calling him to collect her. That's only the tip of the iceberg. Amy has always been weird with me. She has constantly tried to DM me on Instagram, trying to make conversations about gossip in our friend group or completely random things. I've always ignored her. My wife has always seen past her strange behaviour. She refused to believe her dearest best friend would have ill intentions. Anyway, after their breakup, Amy came over to our house to see my wife. My wife was feeling ill on this day, so she took pills to help her sleep and fell asleep in a matter of an hour. I could not ask Amy to leave in the state she was, so for my wife I suggested she sleep in the guest bedroom. She agreed and went to bed. I was in the kitchen cleaning up after dinner, and she waltzed into the kitchen with nothing but undergarments on. She acted shocked and claimed she didn't know I was still in the kitchen. I felt extremely uncomfortable and decided to call it a night. However, she started stripping and approaching me, telling me how my wife doesn't have to know and she's seen the way I've looked at her. I was completely baffled and told her she's got the wrong idea and to be ashamed to do this to her own best friend while I tried to scurry out of the kitchen. However, she practically leaped in front of me and touched my privates. Without a second thought, I hit her. I know I could have easily pushed her, but in the moment I panicked and punched her in the face. Her eye was left bruised. She started wailing enough that my wife woke up and stumbled into the kitchen to see her best friend naked and bruised. She then went on about how I tried to rape her, but I'm a disgusting human being and she should divorce me. I snapped back that she approached me, naked, and a rejection wasn't enough for her to back off, so I punched her, hence the bruise. My wife didn't say anything. Instead, she fainted and I immediately brought her to the hospital. My wife is now okay, but refuses to talk to me about what happened. On the other hand, Amy has now accused me of attempting to have sex with her in our friend group. The majority of people don't believe her, but there's a few who live by always believe a rape accusation. The other half told me I fucked up by punching her and fueling this anger. Amy has ruined my life. I'm afraid my wife will divorce me and this goes to court. I've already contemplated suicide many times. I don't know where to go from here. What do I do? Where do I go from here? Any advice is appreciated. Edit. I know this story sounds absurd and I wish it were fake, but it's not. The unnecessary details were brought in to paint an overall picture of her character. I guess it is worth mentioning my wife feels like she owes her life to Amy for getting her out of an abusive household when they were teenagers. They are practically like sisters. Amy was also not drunk. Edit 2. A few things I would like to clarify to avoid confusion. 1. Amy claims to have gone to the kitchen to get a glass of water not knowing I was still there. She then claims I took advantage of her. 2. This incident happened at approximately 3 a.m. It is now 8 a.m. 3. She came up with this story and posted it in our group chat right after she went back home. 4. The majority of our friend group have to get up really early for their responsibilities, hence how this misinformation has spread like wildfire. I've been getting individual DMs on advice and opinions, that's where I've concluded the majority are on my side. Some say I shouldn't have punched her and the rest believe her. 5. My wife has been up all night and refuses to talk to me. I've not tried to push her to talk to me. For now, she needs time to process it. OP's comment was the top comment on this post that said I'm contemplating on texting her ex, Khaled, who left her, and try asking him if she's done anything similar to his knowledge. He may be able to make my story more believable based on a factual pattern of behaviour rather than word against word. Just not sure if it's a good idea. Miss Skynet replied to OP saying it might be a good idea to talk to a lawyer and find out what sort of evidence you would need to take her to court for defaming you. Perhaps get an action plan together with a lawyer who has experience in this before you go reaching out to people like her ex for help. If it takes an unexpected turn, you'll have an action plan and also somebody to advise you. You might be able to get her to publicly retract the story if she's faced with something like a lawsuit. Don't go easy because they're making you feel bad about punching her. She sexually assaulted you and now she is making very serious false accusations against you. This isn't schoolyard gossip kind of drama. This is somebody committing actual crimes. Next commenter says, I think when the dust settles, you'll be fine. The story she's telling has a lot of holes in it. She was drunk. She came over to your house and you offered to sleep it off in the guest bedroom. Subsequently, she got naked in the kitchen of her own volition. Even if she tries to claim you forced her to strip off her clothes, the only clothes in the kitchen were her undergarments. Why did she go into the kitchen in her underwear? First question a rational person would ask. You need to talk to your wife about it. The circumstantial evidence strongly indicates you weren't the aggressor here. She should believe you based on the facts you presented. I wouldn't feel bad for punching her. If she wants to put her hands on you, I think you have every right to knock her out if you choose. Goddess of Spite says not the arsehole is a perfectly normal response to being assaulted to smack them. She had it coming, but now you need to take this further. You need to contact the police and make a report. You also need to push your wife on this. If she's not instantly backing you, then she doubts you. If she doubts you, then you need to counter against you. This isn't a time for emotions, it's a time for facts. Now, as always, I'm not sure what the legalities are around this, if you can sue for her defaming you or whatever. But that is an absolutely terrifying situation. The very strong possibility of absolutely destroying your life at the same time. But OP did add a couple of updates. He said, first of all, I want to thank everyone for their support, input and advice, which I have used profusely in this situation. On the other hand, a lot of people thought this story was fake or some sort of gross fantasy. It is not. I'm still suffering the aftermath of what happened. I've not slept nor ate since. The people who proceeded to say I should have had sex with Amy or DM'd me calling me a sicko, I truly hope you find peace in your lives. And to the comments calling me an arsehole, which were interestingly mostly from men, I truly hope you treat the woman in your life with the same respect and equality they deserve. Now on to the update. A lot has happened in the past 9 hours. Someone made a suggestion to text Khaled, and so I did. Khaled was just as distraught as me and admitted that this was in fact not the first time she screamed rape. Just like some of you had suspected, she threatened to scream rape to use Khaled to stay in a relationship with her. He got out of it by installing cameras without her knowledge and contacting a lawyer in case she went through with their claims. This worked in my favour. He was very supportive and sympathetic. I confronted Amy with all the fallacies in her story and mentioned the existing evidence Khaled still had if she was interested in taking her claims to the court. She panicked and told me no. Apologized and said she wasn't in her right mind after the breakup. I got her to admit this in the group chat, as I am not interested in false rumors spreading about me in case someone was still unsure of the situation. She shortly left the group chat and has cut off contact with everyone. In other words, has become unreachable. I explained to my wife what had happened. She'd seen all the messages with her confession anyway. My wife told me she genuinely didn't know who to believe and was contemplating divorce in that moment. I was heartbroken. I told her I needed time to process everything that happened in the past 14 hours. I'll be sleeping in the guest bedroom tonight. I'm happy that she believes me now, but it doesn't sit well with me that it took an actual confession out of Amy for my wife to side with me. I've been with my wife for 10 years and would expect her to know me better than that. But at the same time, she didn't know Amy was capable of something like this in 15 years. My marriage has definitely taken a hit with this situation. Although I love my wife and have seen past every other time she has defended Amy, this situation is something I can't get over overnight. I thank you all for helping me navigate the situation. Edit. I'm very aware and understanding of my wife's situation. She feels indebted to Amy, and there's definitely power play at hand. However, my wife has laughed off the incident and dismissed the fact of how traumatizing it was for me. She still refuses to see Amy as the villain and is blaming it on the emotional heartbreak of her breakup. The top comment on that one suggested to OP that, if you do stay together, that Amy needs to be completely cut out of both of your lives, to which OP said, yeah, for sure. So a couple of months later, OP comes in with another update and says, so it's been a bit over 2 months since this incident occurred. Needless to say, it's been a hectic 2 months. In short, my wife's best friend Amy forced herself onto me, I hit her and she accused me of sexual assault. Wife believed Amy until she was backed into a corner and confessed the truth. Wife didn't give much importance when it came to me and proceeded to laugh it off and call it a big misunderstanding. Now for the actual update. I tried to make it work. I really did. For 2 months, I tried to brush it off and dealt with wife still having frequent hangouts with Amy and telling me about them all excitedly, as if her own best friend didn't just try to have sex with me. However, the last straw was a few days ago, where my wife was telling me how her and Amy are planning a trip to Greece for the summer holidays, and how she can't wait to finally have a break from life's stresses. I simply said nothing and walked away from her. She followed me and asked me if everything was okay. I straight up told her how I can't believe she would dismiss the fact that Amy accused me of rape when in actual fact she forced herself onto me, and how when it came to Amy, she believed her and was willing to divorce me on the spot, but when it came to me, she brushes it off and continues to have girly hangouts with this very friend who tried to destroy our marriage. I blatantly told her that she doesn't care for me. My wife started bursting into tears and had the audacity to ask me, at that again, why can't you just get over it? I don't know why I thought she would have listened now. I had enough at that point and told her we're getting a divorce. Walked away and started to pack my suitcase as she tried her hardest to stop me, pulling my shirt, hitting me, throwing things, going from calling me names to begging me to stay. I walked out and am now staying at a hotel while her and her family blow up my phone. I don't know what to do. Update, my wife seems to have found this post and put the pieces together. I may have to terminate this account. Update 2, I'm not terminating this account. There's comments about my wife looking for quote unquote sugar daddies on her Reddit. This is absolutely bonkers and I'm heartbroken. Also planning on going home to make this divorce official. Update 3, I'm back home and I've kicked her out. Just told her if she doesn't leave I'll call the authorities. I told her to contact me through my lawyer if she wants to speak again. Again, she's tried everything to stop me. Even tried to have sex with me. I did ask her about her supposed Reddit account and she denied everything, but I can't say I believe her. Some of you mentioned it was a setup or some sort of test from the start. This could be a possibility as my wife never wakes up that easily after taking sleeping pills, and it's likely she brushed it off due to the guilt. Still though, it was uncalled for, and her mentioning divorce over a rape accusation she knew was fake just makes it worse. Thank you for all your kindness and support. And OP's latest update said, first of all, thank you for everyone's undeniable support. I really wouldn't have been here if it weren't for that. A lot of you have been asking me for an update, so here it goes. By now, my wife's kicked out and she's staying with Amy. Shocker. She threatened to make the divorce hard, but my lawyer stated there's only so much she can do to make it hard due to us having no children and no shared assets. My house was mine before we even married. Having said that, she surprisingly texted me the other day. I haven't blocked her for the sake of evidence, and she told me she doesn't want to make this divorce hard and she'll sign the papers and do whatever needs to be done. I did ask her why the sudden change, and here's the kicker. She told me she wanted to be free to spend her days with somebody she's been seeing, as said person has been insisting. I told her okay and hung up. She didn't specify who it was, but my heart did break all over again. How did she meet somebody so fast? That's highly unlikely, so she's definitely been having an affair. Even though our marriage is done, there's no hiding the fact that I loved her more than life itself and did everything in my power to keep her happy. I know I'm still young, but it feels as though my whole life is over. About the Reddit account claiming to be her, I'm certain it was either her or Amy. They knew far more details about my personal life than the regular person would. Either way, they were just fucking with me. I also had a friend reach out to me upon hearing about divorce proceedings. Let's call her Hannah. She stated that she believes my wife and has been seeing her husband Alex, and so has Amy. This just keeps getting more ridiculous, but at this point I don't even doubt there's more to it than I know. I told Hannah that she should stay alert and try to find as much evidence as she can. That's it for now. I'll definitely update in light of new information. Thank you all. You all have a special place in my heart. A lot of people suggesting, was this just a big setup because of the affair kind of thing? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.